For the first time in Mets history, they have now won each of the first 6 series they have played as the Mets were able to beat the Cardinals again on Tuesday. Chris Bassitt was amazing. Jeff McNeil once again contributed. James McCann starting to get hot. Got a lot to discuss on today's show. In the first segment, we'll recap the game. In the second segment, I want to talk about how Jeff McNeil is once again playing like an all-star, and we'll close the show today giving you an update on Mets ace Jacob deGrom, also Taijuan Walker, and a minor league signing who is a familiar face from last season. We're going to cover all of that on this edition of Locked On Mets.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on Twitter at FinkelsteinRyan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Now, this Mets team, they just keep winning. I mean, what else is there to say? Monday night, shouldn't have won that game. Went over that yesterday with Lucas of Locked On Cardinals. That was a fun show to be able to rub it in right after all of that went down. Crazy turn of events to win a game, basically thanks to a Nolan Arenado error of all things. So you steal that one, and then you win the series on Tuesday. It's just that simple. 6 series wins, 6 series played. It does not get any better. And in this game, Jeff McNeil once again contributed. We're going to talk about him more in the next segment, but he began a rally in the third inning by getting a hustle double. The way he's running the bases, the way he's playing the field, he's just given the Mets everything you could have wanted from Jeff McNeil this season. It's just been an absolutely fantastic start. He then scores when James McCann hits a double. Longtime listeners, or those of you who've been tuning in since the offseason, know that James McCann's this year's version of Jonathan VR for me. Last year, Jonathan VR was a player that I said going into the year should not be on the Mets. He would not contribute in a positive way, and he went on to make me eat my words. And because of that, I bought a jersey. This year, I said, who's going to be our VR? I picked James McCann. I thought there's no way he's going to have a positive offensive season. Well, we need to set some parameters on this jersey bet because James McCann starting to make a little bit of noise, had that RBI double, went 3 for 4 today. That double had an exit velocity of 107.4 miles per hour. He hit that monster home run in Arizona. It's getting a little bit scary out here. So here is the official rules that could lead me to buying a James McCann jersey that I really don't want. If James McCann gets his OPS over 700, I believe it's at 619 right now, might have jumped close to 100 points tonight. If he can improve that OPS over 700 and maintain it for a full week, I will buy a James McCann jersey. I'm not just going to say if he gets it over the 700 mark, because if he goes 3 for 4 again tomorrow, it might just be there. So we're putting that one caveat. He has to hold it for a week, but if he does, I will unfortunately have to buy a James McCann jersey. And like I said, clutch hit today. The Mets scored another run when Starling Marte got an RBI hit in that same inning. In the ninth, the Mets scored again as Mark Canha and Jeff McNeil both singled. Brandon Nimmo had a great at-bat fighting off pitches and drawing a walk. Starling Marte then got hit by a pitch with the bases loaded, so that gave the Mets an insurance run. And that's the second time over the past week that Marte has been hit by a pitch with the bases loaded. Pete Alonso also got hit in the head tonight. Early return seems like he's going to be okay. But just another scary moment as the Mets continue to just get beamed at a absurd clip. Chris Bassitt also was very strong in his words towards Major League Baseball after the game tonight, talking about the baseball, how it's not uniform. Every ball is different. Pitchers can't get a grip. Too many guys are getting hit in the head, how dangerous it is. He talked about how he has been hit in the head and he never wants to hit somebody in the head. But even tonight, he got close on a couple of occasions. So he really called out Major League Baseball. I had no idea when the Mets traded for Chris Bassitt that he was, this type of a personality. And it's not even like he is your, I don't know, quirky personality. It's just more that he's very strong-willed and he does not mince words. And I love to hear it. He kind of has a little bit of Scherzer bulldog in him. He's almost like a mini Scherzer in some respects. A guy that just has this incredibly deep arsenal and just attacks. And what we saw again is another start where he goes out and gives them at 6 scoreless. The starting pitching has been sensational. He gives up 2 hits, walked 3, had 6 strikeouts, hit a batter, but altogether was able to keep the Cardinals off the board. Really was able to keep them from threatening much outside of the first inning where they got a couple of runners on, but it just was dealing again. And the bullpen was solid as well. Drew Smith worked around a single. Adam Ottavino had a perfect inning with 2 strikeouts, and Edwin Diaz worked around a walk in his inning, picking up his 3rd save. But it all starts with that starting pitching. And you look at Chris Bassitt this season, he's taken the ball 4 times. He's gone 6 innings every single time. And then you look at the hits he's allowed, gave up 3 hits in his first start, 2 hits in his second start, 2 hits tonight. The only bad start he had was against that Giants team that just grinds out at bats and just finds a way. And they were able to pile 8 hits and 5 runs on him. But even in that bad start, he gives the Mets 6 innings. And you look up now through 4 starts, a 2.25 ERA, a 179 batting average against, 0.92 whip. The guy has just been absolute money every single start out. Even again, in the one bad start, I don't think you can really knock him. It wasn't a quality start, granted, because he gave up the 5 runs, but to get you through 6, that is a solid outing for a pitcher that even when he wasn't necessarily right or when another team got to him, he doesn't let it phase him. And he gives you a chance. In that game, the Mets had a chance, even though he gave up those 5 runs, because it could have snowballed. And we've seen other pitchers where it would snowball, but Bassitt was able to buckle down. And then there's nights like tonight where he just looks unhittable at times. And the fact that they were able to acquire Chris Bassitt for this season for JT Ginn and Adam Mahler, it's a really solid trade. I liked Ginn as a prospect. I'm sure now that he's in Oakland in 2 years, we're going to see him be the next Chris Bassitt, right? But you needed a Chris Bassitt now. And that's why you make the win now move. And the way that he has been pitching, the way it seems like he likes New York, I would not be surprised if the Mets were to sign him past this season. But even if they don't, they're getting a pitcher right now that's helping them win this division. And a guy that you're going to be absolutely thrilled to have on the mound for game 3 of a playoff series after Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. It is an embarrassment of riches. And I will talk about Jacob deGrom. We have an injury update on him. I'll talk about Taijuan Walker. We're going to do that in the final segment today. But first, I want to talk about Jeff McNeil and how he's playing like an all-star once again. So we will get to that in a minute. But our next partner has a product that I literally use every day now, which is Athletic Greens. For a while, I've been looking for a way to get more vitamins and nutrients into my daily habit, and Athletic Greens is so easy. 1 scoop in a glass of cold water every morning. Chug that down as like my morning coffee. It gives me energy to attack the day, and I'm absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens that help start my day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. There's over 7,000 5-star reviews for Athletic Greens, and it's recommended by professional athletes. It's the single best thing you can do for your body in under 60 seconds. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/MLB network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. After another 2-hit game on Tuesday, Jeff McNeil now has his season average up to 328. He's got a 388 on base percentage, a 492 slugging percentage. Coming into the day, his WRC plus was 157. Again, WRC plus measures hitters based on a league average of 100. So 157 is excellent. That's 57% better than your league average hitter. And after going 2 for 4 today, that number is only going to climb. He's scored 11 runs this season, 7 RBIs, and he's hitting near the bottom of the lineup, yet he finds a way to impact the game. It is infuriating every single time the Mets put Robinson Cano ahead of McNeil in the lineup. There has been times where Cano fails to come through in the next inning. You see a Jeff McNeil get a base hit or get a double, and you just think, man, I wish that at bat had come a couple batters sooner if the Mets would just hit him up in the lineup a little bit more. Although it does sort of set the table for McNeil to be on base when the lineup turns over, having him hitting that 8 hole where he has been a lot of times, 7 or 8. We also saw a stretch when Nimmo was down with COVID that McNeil was able to go to the top of the lineup and lead off for this Mets team, a role that he would probably serve on a lot of teams. It's just an embarrassment of riches when you have a Jeff McNeil that is hitting that far down in your lineup. But it's everything so far this season that we have seen from McNeil that just reminds you of the player he was. And last night on Monday, didn't really talk about it nearly enough as I was a little bit distracted with our crossover with Lucas of Locked On Cardinals. We were going through a lot of different topics throughout that show. And I don't think I did a good enough job really illuminating McNeil's impact on winning that game. To score from second, that was absolutely heads up base running. You know, in that spot, there could be a play at first and the game could be over. There's some players that would get caught watching on third base. Jeff McNeil from second just hustled nonstop. If Dom's going to be first or safe at first, I'm going to score. That is the energy he brought to the bases in that spot. The way he dove into home just ahead of the throw, just incredible to get that moment, to win a game for the Mets. Now, obviously, Brandon Nimmo hits the 2-run homer right after that, and that one run doesn't mean as much. But in the moment, that was a run that took you from going into that ninth inning where you were down by 2 to suddenly having a 3-2 lead. Jeff McNeil is just a gamer. I have always loved this guy. That's why throughout the offseason, I continued time and again to combat all the listeners that were calling for Chris Bryant. I would always throw Jeff McNeil out there. I said, I get it. I understand that Chris Bryant's the flashy name, but Jeff McNeil is a player that has been very, very good throughout his career. And we've gone through these numbers before. I've had a listener tell me, you don't like me taking my victory laps on this show. I apologize. Sometimes I'm going to do it, okay? When I see the slander that Jeff McNeil got this offseason, and now he is once again hitting close to 330, contributing to Mets wins, I think it is worth bringing up once again who this guy was and how Mets fans gave up on him after just one season. From 2018 through 2020, he had a 140 WRC plus. Again, that is a stat measuring hitters based on that league average of 100, so 40% better than your league average hitter. He was tied with Brandon Nimmo in that metric, and it was the 12th best mark in baseball over that, what is that, a 4-year span or 3-year span, 2018, 2019, 2020. That ranked him in that 3-year span as a better hitter, a more productive hitter than George Springer, Jose Ramirez, Bryce Harper, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Paul Goldschmidt. Now, obviously, those guys contribute more home runs. They're flashier players. But what WRC Plus tells us is when you're just talking about the function of an at-bat, McNeil's role in the lineup, because he got on base during those 3 years at a 383 clip, because he was able to still slug at a 501 clip, that made him one of the top 15 most valuable hitters in baseball. And because he had one down season with a complete joke of a team last year where everybody struggled, where he never looked comfortable, where he always looked frustrated, everyone was ready to just throw him aside with Jay Davis, throw him aside with Dominic Smith. We don't want to see him get at bats. Well, you're seeing now what McNeil does when he is right, when he is comfortable. He has some of the best bat to ball skills in the game, and it's showing up again. Ever since I started hosting the show in 2019, I've always said Jeff McNeil is the type of hitter that will win a batting title one day. That could be this year, for all we know. And right now, he is playing like an all-star. And also, he is, in some respects, the most important player on this roster based on his function, because he is the one guy on this team that gives you great defense wherever you put him. And the metrics back it up. Put him in left, put him in right, put him at second, put him at third. no matter where you put him, he's going to be a solid defender. And for this Mets team, when you have a Brandon Nimmo go down, you could put Jeff McNeil in left field. If you want to give Starling Marte or Mark Canha a blow, put him out in the outfield. He's starting at second base almost every day when he's not out in the outfield, and he is really forming a great double play combination up the middle with Francisco Lindor. Defensively, that is one of the best double play combinations in baseball. And all that talk about the two of them not being able to play together, the rat and the raccoon, it would never work. What do we see tonight? There's a ground ball to Lindor. For some reason, he goes to second instead of first with it, which was a terrible decision by Lindor. McNeil has to put on the Jets to just barely beat the runner sliding into second. And then after he does, you see the two of them smiling, laughing, interacting with each other. One of the things that is pretty clear, if you're on a winning baseball team, everyone's going to have fun. Everyone's going to love each other. And the Mets are a much better baseball team when they have Jeff McNeil playing like this, when he can be this incredible super utility Swiss Army knife that's going to run the bases well, hit for a high average, get on base at a high clip, give you great defense and versatile defense. The type of defense that a Chris Bryant just simply does not play. I love watching Jeff McNeil thrive. And like I said, looking like an all-star in the early season, looking like a player that could contend for a batting title when it is all said and done. But there is one all-star that shines above all others on this Mets team, and that is Jacob deGrom. We got an update yesterday on his injury, which I did not cover on yesterday's podcast, so we're going to do that in just a minute. But first, I want to tell you about the best tasting protein bar ever, which of course is Built Bar. Built Bars come low in calories, low in sugar, low in fat, but they're high in protein and high in fiber. They're a great way to start your day in the morning after a nice cup of athletic greens. I'd like to eat a nice Built Bar. My day starts off great, healthy start to the day, feel good about everything I'm putting into my body. Built Bars are delicious, and they also have the Puffs, which are the first ever protein-infused marshmallows. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're not just a protein bar, they're a treat. It comes covered in that 100% real chocolate with flavors like the cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, and the banana cream pie. Also good. Built is always coming out with limited time flavors, so make sure you check out their site often to see what's new. And once you're there, make sure you use our promo code LOCK15. Again, that's promo code LOCK15 at built.com, and you're going to get 15% off your next order. All right, let's talk Jacob deGrom. Late on Monday, the Mets announced that deGrom has been cleared to begin strengthening and loading in his right shoulder, which is a term I've never heard of, particularly the loading part. But this is after he had an MRI and a CT scan on Monday, which showed considerable healing of the stress reaction on his right scapula. deGrom, according to Buck Showalter, will remain in Florida during this strengthening and loading period on his shoulder. Then he'll come to New York for workouts once he can resume throwing. The Mets did say that he'll get more imaging done in 3 weeks. So that is the timetable. deGrom going to continue rehabbing, building up the strength in that pitching shoulder. They'll get it looked at again, make sure that all of the problems that they saw in those original MRIs are gone, that the scapula and the stress reaction is all healed, and he's ready to get back into action. The good news when we first heard about this injury was that there was no structural damage, and it was just a wait and see type of injury. And now, after some time, it seems like he is heading towards a healthy return. I know it is hard to count on that because of the last year plus of Jacob deGrom. And going through the offseason, I was shrugging off the notion that deGrom is injury prone because I would point to all of the starts that he made without injury throughout the majority of his career, where the only injury he had was at the end of the 2016 season. Other than that, he had basically been, healthy throughout his entire career. Then you have what happened last season. Then you had the setback in spring training. I can no longer say with confidence that Jacob deGrom is not an injury-prone pitcher, but you hope that in this magical run of the season the Mets are having right now, there will be a time in, a month where deGrom will be throwing again without hiccup. He'll start ramping up, and maybe we can see him at some point. I would imagine the earliest is at the end of June. And even then, I don't know. I think the Mets are going to play this super cautious, and they should play it super cautious because look at what they're getting out of their rotation right now. If there's not a problem, there's no reason to force the issue. You got Carlos Carrasco, going into the start to try to close out the sweep on Wednesday with a 1.47 ERA to lead this rotation. Max Scherzer, after 2 brilliant starts, has his ERA down to 1.80. Chris Bassitt's at 2.25. Tyler McGill's at 2.35. That's your 4 right there behind deGrom when he comes back. Although there's also that guy Taijuan Walker, who didn't give up a run in his 2 innings pitch before he got hurt, and he's going to be back likely over the weekend after that shoulder injury. So suddenly, once again, you got a 5-man rotation. David Peterson now on the outside looking in. In Syracuse right now, he has a 0.64 ERA on the season, although Peterson might come back and get another look at some point this weekend as well. We'll see what happens with him moving forward. But you have currently 6 good options in that rotation. deGrom makes it 8, or makes it 7. What kind of math was that? Am I off on this? What did I do there? That was a complete brain fart. I don't know. Maybe I'm factoring in Trevor Williams for some reason. That's certainly not a good option. But this Mets rotation is just pitching so well this season. And unless there's other injuries that pop up, you have to be super cautious with deGrom. If they don't even want to use him until the All-Star break, I wouldn't hate it. Get him back, get him 100% healthy, have him make a handful of rehab starts, really make sure he's good to go. And then hopefully you can sort of take him off that leash by the time you get through, August and into September, where he can be his normal self. And the bottom line is you want Jacob deGrom 100% healthy when you get to October. But the way this rotation has been going, it's crazy that you really don't even need him. You don't. This Mets team, if they don't get deGrom all season, they can win this division and win it handedly. They really can. deGrom's what makes this team scary, and particularly when you get to October, the idea that you could go into an NLCS against the Dodgers and deGrom could start game 1, game 4 if they wanted to, but they wouldn't even have to. You could get 2 starts out of deGrom and Scherzer. You could go deGrom, Scherzer, Bassitt, Carrasco with McGill and Walker helping out your bullpen. This team, man. It's so loaded with that starter depth, and it's because we have seen Carlos Carrasco and Tyler McGill sort of change the perception of who they were supposed to be coming into the year, where you didn't know what you were going to get from Carrasco because of the down season. McGill struggled down the stretch last year as well. Now suddenly McGill looks like this young starter who could be in the Mets rotation for years. Carrasco looks like the guy he was in Cleveland, and Bassitt has performed right up to expectations, if not better than that. And Scherzer's been Scherzer. So again, it's an embarrassment of riches for this Mets team. One last note when it comes to pitching. Actually, I should note Taijuan Walker. I did mention that he should be back this weekend. He threw 64 pitches in a sim game on Monday. Velocity touched out at 94. He said he feels great. Can likely stretch out to 85 pitches on his return. So we're going to see Taijuan Walker back in that rotation. And the crazy thing is he'll probably have a short leash, because if he ends up struggling the way he did in the second half last year, he's going to lose his spot in the rotation. And when you have that pressure, a lot of times it could make all these pitchers better because they're going to feed off of each other. Now, the other last note I was about to get to, Tommy Hunter is back with the Mets, a Mets legend. We remember him last year. He's a great personality, a big guy who, of course, had his first hit in his MLB career, got a knock in his terms last season, and was so excited about it after the game. So it's good to see Tommy Hunter back with the Mets on a minor league deal. Who knows when we could see him at some point this season, but that's a veteran arm that looked really good with the Mets last year when he did pitch. Got hurt. Now he can come back, and at some point he'll probably be one of those guys on the taxi squad from Syracuse over to New York to contribute and help this Mets team at some point this season. So that's a nice little addition the Mets made. Regardless, that's going to be all for today's edition of Locked On Mets. Carrasco versus Mats, a day game. I'll be talking about that on tomorrow's show. Then on Friday, we're going to have another Locked On crossover with the host of Locked On Phillies. So that should be a really fun one ahead of this weekend series against the Phillies in New York, Citi Field. I'll actually be at that game on Friday night. Really excited about that. As always, though, thank you for listening. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, Check out Locked On MLB, hosted by Paul Francis Sullivan, but we call him Sully. Locked On MLB is where you want to go to stay up to date with everything going on in Major League Baseball. You can follow Locked On MLB wherever you get podcasts.